are back for a brand new season of Formula 1 and we kick things off with pre-season testing, which as you can see by the setting is taking place at a different venue. Pre-season testing this time around is not taking place at the traditional Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. This time it's taking place at the French Grand Prix circuit at Paul Ricard. Of course, we already have official confirmation that the French Grand Prix will not be taking place this year, so instead the track is going to be used for pre-season testing. Now the cars are an evolution of last year's cars, so it's going to be very interesting to see if any teams can push their way further up the grid, or if any teams start slipping back, or will the grid start to remain very stagnant, meaning that we could now be looking at a fight for any potential regulation changes to really spice up the grid. But without further ado, let's go and see the teams and the drivers that'll be lining up for a new season of Formula 1. Ferrari were the first team to break covers at the Circuit de Castellet, and it has been officially announced that Tom has rejoined Ferrari and he is joining forces with Carlos Sainz. Tom has stated that he is delighted to rejoin Ferrari and redeem himself after his last spell. In just Tom's second season in Formula 1, he joined Ferrari alongside Max Verstappen. However, in a hierarchy contract scandal, it was confirmed that back then that nobody was allowed to beat Max Verstappen and that he was to become the world champion. But no one knew about that and it was never in the contract. Tom was sacked halfway through the season after a crash at the Canadian Grand Prix as a way of pretty much getting him out of the team. Ferrari obviously didn't want to sack him for no apparent reason, so when they saw that crash, they decided to use that opportunity. Tom went to Mercedes and the rest is history. However, with Tom not having a seat for this year, Ferrari have decided to get him back on board with the team, and he's going alongside Carlos Sainz, who keeps his place at the team after Reese departed Ferrari. But despite all of this, it's not been a good pre-season test for Ferrari. In fact, it's been a horrible pre-season test for Ferrari. Ferrari came along and had a plan for a brand new engine and chassis design heading into this season. However, in the wind tunnel, it was confirmed that there was lots of reliability problems with their engine. It meant that Ferrari had to go back to an old spec engine, but by using the older spec engine, it meant that their new chassis didn't quite work with the older spec engine, meaning that not only did they suffer issues with their engine, they've also suffered issues with their chassis. Ferrari are attempting to make many upgrades throughout the entirety of the season to play catch-up, but what we can officially confirm is that Ferrari will be starting the season on the back foot. They're expected to get further up the field as the season goes on, but don't expect Ferrari to be fighting for any wins, if podiums for that matter, for the first few races. Ferrari have said that they're not going to be putting in all of their upgrades in one go. They're going to be gradually putting in piece by piece in order to avoid any more quality control issues. But it's been a rough pre-season for Ferrari and it's going to be a difficult start for them. But it is the Scuderia. If any team knows how to get back up the order, it's Ferrari. McLaren were next to roll out here at the French Grand Prix circuit in pre-season testing with a little bit more red added to their livery. Apart from that, the rest of the car pretty much stays the same. But one of their drivers is brand new, and that is Reese, who joins McLaren after his Vodafone brand deal made him leave Ferrari and come and join McLaren. And Daniel Ricciardo has welcomed Reese to McLaren and expects a great challenge from his new teammate, who finished third in the championship last season behind the two Jaguar drivers of Tom and Sam. Now, how did McLaren get along in pre-season testing? Well, McLaren were overall really happy with their car. They're actually going as bold as to stating that they're in for a title challenge this season. McLaren last season were very underwhelming, with lots of races where they should have won, but due to reliability, they just weren't able to get their car working the best that they could have, and unfortunately had a winless season. This season, though, they're expecting things to be different. They think that they've mustered out all of their issues from last season, and they're definitely in the running to go for it again this season. Now, also, the one thing that we're still a little bit confused upon with McLaren is what they're like in a straight line. McLaren certainly kept their cards close to their chest with the engine performance, as throughout the speed traps throughout the entirety of pre-season testing, McLaren's speed traps were a lot lower than the rest of their competitors, clearly showcasing that they were not willing to give anything away before the first round of the season. But McLaren are in strong spirits and in high hopes. With Reese and Ricciardo at the wheel, could McLaren genuinely be title contenders this season? Next up to hit the circuit was Red Bull, and Red Bull have confirmed that their driver lineup remains the same for this season, with Max Verstappen and USA's Mason Wood remaining as their two Red Bull drivers. There was a lot of speculation about Mason Wood and his future within the Red Bull team, with Max Verstappen outperforming Mason Wood throughout the entirety of last season. Red Bull, however, have stated that they have trust in both of their two drivers, and as they're going through a brand new phase whereby they're rebuilding with a brand new engine supplier, there was no need to change their drivers. BMW is still working hard to produce a competitive engine, and Red Bull unfortunately suffered another difficult winter. It's quite clear that both BMW and Red Bull are really struggling to get on top of the latest set of regulations for this era of Formula 1. These new high-speed cars with super fast straight line speed and very light chassis is just something that Red Bull can't quite get to grips with, and it looks like Red Bull are going to be having another season where they're suffering, and at the moment, unless there's a regulation change coming in which will increase the weight of the cars in order to slow them down a little bit, we might not see Red Bull at the top for quite a long time. But BMW is still optimistic that they can work flat out to give Red Bull the engine that it deserves to be fighting back at the front. Aston Martin began a brand new adventure in Formula 1 with their Mercedes partnership. Mercedes-Benz, who have got a specific amount of shares within Aston Martin, they've gone ahead to combine their driver program with Aston Martin. Sergio Perez joins Aston Martin as the lead experienced driver within their team, while Formula E Mercedes driver Nick de Vries jumps away from Formula E and comes into Formula 1 once again after his initial spell in BMW when the team used to be in Formula 1. Now, where are Aston Martin planning on going throughout this season? Well, Aston Martin don't expect to be fighting at the front of the field anytime soon. However, they are planning on huge gains throughout the season, with extra help from Mercedes-Benz being utilised to upgrade their car throughout the entirety of the season. So for the time being, expect Aston Martin to be further down the order just like they were last season. However, expect them to then push themselves into the midfield battle as the season goes on. And if their upgrades work really well, there's nothing to say that Aston Martin could just shoot right up to the front of the field. It's exciting times for Aston Martin. Sergio Perez joins alongside Formula E driver Nick de Vries in a brand new Aston Martin with a little bit more orange, some more blue, and a bit of black. Next to hit the circuit was Audi, and Audi have gone big with not only their car, but their driver lineup. Charles Leclerc has joined George Russell at Audi after he was dropped by McLaren. Leclerc was originally at McLaren alongside Daniel Ricciardo, but with Reece joining the team thanks to the Vodafone brand deal, it meant that McLaren had to pick one of their drivers to drop, and they decided to go with Charles Leclerc. And I wonder if they're regretting that. Audi are happy to snatch the talent of Charles Leclerc and have set their sights firmly on the Constructors' Championship. And with good reason. Audi set the fastest time of pre-season testing, confirming that they have got some phenomenal pace with their car. Their car is clearly one of the quickest in the straight line, as we saw. However, we're not sure where McLaren lie into all of this. Leclerc and Russell are both stating that their car is extremely fast, and all signs are positive for Audi. Could we see a new team right at the front of the field with Audi as they look set to be the best of everyone? It was a disappointing season last season for Ford, but this year they're looking to try and change that. And as we can see straight from the bat, more black has been added to their livery as a slight little change has come in for the team. However, what's not changed is Ford's driver lineup, as they have kept drivers Pierre Gasly and Noah James into their lineup. Both drivers, however, are still looking for a change of fortune with Ford, who have predominantly been seeing themselves at the back of the field. So how are they going to go ahead and mitigate this? Well, it has been shown that they have stated that they are focusing very much on their engine, as they feel that if they can get a good baseline with a brilliant engine, then they can go ahead and work on the rest of the car and build it around such a strong and powerful engine. That work has paid off, because it's quite clear to see from the speed traps that Ford are by far the quickest on the grid. However, with them focusing so much on their engine, it does mean that they're still let down via the chassis and aero front. So don't expect Ford to be anywhere right at the top of the field. However, do expect them to try and get themselves some points, as last year that was something that they failed to achieve. It's time for the defending champions, and it's Jaguar, and they are here ready to kickstart start their title defense, and they begin it with a new partnership with Monster thanks to Sam's brand deal with the energy drinks company. First things first, we can see that the Jaguar livery hasn't really changed all too much, apart from the few obvious things. We've now seen that there is a lot more Panasonic to be stated onto the car, thanks to the fact that onto the side of the car now is a giant Monster logo, thanks to Sam's brand deal. The green has also been lightened as well in respect to the actual Monster energy drinks. But who is joining Jaguar after Tom had to depart? And it is Lando Norris. Lando Norris has joined the team after Sam requests Jaguar to go for him. Now, if we remember, Sam and Lando Norris have been teammates before. They were teammates back at McLaren, and Sam had a great working relationship with Lando Norris, and Lando Norris stated the same about Sam. So when the position became available, Sam put in the recommendation to go after Lando Norris, and Jaguar went with it, and Norris has signed for the team. So it's a very good and strong driver lineup, but let's see what Jaguar are doing in pre-season testing. Well, not much really. They're actually keeping their cards very close to their chest. Jaguar didn't want to give anything away about their pace that they had. Both Sam and Norris said that their car felt okay and that there was some work to do, but no one in the paddock is really believing that. We believe that Jaguar is going to be back up there, fighting at the top and trying to defend their crown. But the question is, can they defend their crown? Or will the likes of Audi and also McLaren and even any other teams that we've still got left to show put an end to Jaguar's very short one-year title reign? Mercedes changed their colours from black to white as they started life with Vestas aiming for carbon-neutral cars. Lewis Hamilton partners alongside Sebastian Vettel, who are both excited to start this new project that is being used in Formula E to create carbon-neutral cars. Last season it was announced that Mercedes-Benz were no longer going to be title sponsors with Petronas as they look to try and move towards carbon-neutral cars. However, that doesn't mean that Petronas are gone altogether. They are still working hard with Mercedes, they just will not be the title sponsors for them. Instead, they'll be known as Mercedes-AMG Vestas Formula 1 team from now onwards. So how's things gone for Mercedes-Benz? Unfortunately, not too good indeed. There's been a lot of reliability failures throughout testing for Mercedes-Benz, and it's been in all certain areas, mostly to do with the engine. However, they have spotted some issues as well with their gearbox. Mercedes-Benz didn't really get a lot of data and completed very few laps in testing. In fact, it was the fewest of the lot in testing, and it's something that they're very concerned about. Mercedes have got a lot of upgrade packages that they plan to implement to their car throughout the season in order to improve performance, but it looks like Mercedes will now have to halt those upgrades, which were expected to come at the first round of the Grand Prix in Bahrain, to focus on getting the reliability sorted, and we might even see some reliability issues still crop up in the first few races. For Mercedes' sake, we hope not, but there's nothing guaranteed with them, especially with their pre-season testing being so poor, and it's about can they actually get to the bottom of their reliability problems in time before Australia. Porsche arrived at pre-season testing with literally no changes at all. The only change that we can see for the Porsche car is that it's doing pre-season testing at France, considering it changed on the calendar. Their livery remains exactly the same, and they've remained with the same driver lineup of Nico Hülkenberg and Pascal Wehrlein. Porsche's plans for this season are to improve, like they did at the second half of last season. Porsche found it very difficult last season, especially to work with their chassis, and it's something that they're still struggling with now. It was shown in pre-season testing how the back end of the car was really unstable and not giving Hülkenberg or Wehrlein the confidence that they needed. Now, at the end of last season, however, they managed to get slightly on top of their car, finding a little bit of extra performance and eventually usurping Renault in the Constructors' Championship. But they are expecting another tough fight this year, especially for points, with the field getting closer and closer and the guys at the front getting even faster. So how are Porsche going to go around doing this? Well, they've got ahead and got a lot of information about their new form of chassis that they're running for this season. It's quite clear to see that that's where their main problem is coming from. They state that they've still got some good improvements that have been made to the power unit side of things. They just need to work on trying to nullify their issues with the chassis. Once they can get that sorted, it should then help out with getting a little bit less drag on the car, therefore making it a little bit more slipperier in a straight line. It's not currently brilliant signs for Porsche as it stands, but there is plenty of room for improvement, and they're remaining optimistic about their chances heading into the new season. Renault go back to the classic of the yellow and turquoise blue Renault as they continue to extend their partnership with Mild 7. In fact, they've actually gone ahead and given themselves a new announcement for everybody here at preseason testing, and that Mild 7 are now title sponsors for Renault. They are known as Mild 7 Renault Formula 1 team, and Renault, by the looks of it, looks set to be scrapping it out with the midfield. But what have Renault been up to though in terms of their driver lineup? Well, it remains the same. The final team on the grid, Renault, retain their driver lineup of Bottas and Ocon, as Renault is focused heavily on rebuilding. Renault have been working very hard, especially on the engine department, to try and get that right up to scratch. It seems that despite this new era of Formula 1 focusing very much on the chassis weight side of things, a lot of teams have discovered that most of their pace deficit is coming from their engine, and Renault is no exception to this. So Renault have been working hard back at the factory to try and go ahead and get the best power unit possible. They still feel that they're going to be scrapping it out at the midfield. They don't think that they've quite unlocked everything from their car just yet, and it shows from their performances. Their tyre life is also something that they're a little bit concerned about. They feel that they've actually built themselves a very good car. However, it just doesn't seem like the tyres were working for them around this circuit. We did see last season when the Grand Prix took place at France that tyre temperatures was a big issue for everyone on the grid. So this could potentially be something that they shouldn't be too worried about, as it might actually just be the specific circuit that they were driving on. But it's something that they're keeping an eye on, and it might be something that hinders them throughout the entirety of the season. The final thing to take a look at then before we wrap up today's pre-season video is the F1 Journey Season 7 official calendar, which was announced at the end of last season, but we'll go into it in a little bit more detail. The first round of the season will be the Australian Grand Prix, with round number 2 taking us over to China. After that, it's the double header in the desert with Bahrain and Abu Dhabi, before we fly off over to Canada and then to Mexico. After the 2 races over there are complete, we then do a little bit of an Asian leg with Vietnam and then Singapore. After that, we then take the European leg of the season, with the Hungarian Grand Prix being the 9th round, followed by the Spanish Grand Prix being round number 10. The 11th round is the Dutch Grand Prix, followed by the British Grand Prix. Then we head over to Austria and then Italy, with some power-heavy circuits coming towards the end of the season, with the Dutch Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, Austria, Italy, Brazil, Japan and Belgium all being known for having lots of high-speed cornering and just overall high-speed circuits. But there is the official calendar for Season 7 of the F1 Journey. If you guys have enjoyed today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe if you're new around here as well. And we'll see you guys next week for the first round of the season of the Australian Grand Prix.